Hey guys, this is Courtney from Lil's Bloom, and today I'm here to talk to you about the Gemini full moon happening on December 7th at 16 degrees of Gemini, which just happens to be exactly on my sun. So I'm very excited to talk about this one. So whenever there's a full moon, essentially what's happening is that the sun and the moon are opposing each other. So the sun is in Sagittarius right now. It is December. Well, when I'm recording this, it's almost December. And then the moon, of course, is in Gemini. And the moon is actually exactly conjunct Mars. So Mars has been moving through Gemini for a while now. It's going to continue to move through Gemini for a while, all the way until March of next year. It has been going retrograde until January at some point. I can't remember exact day, but at some point in January, it's going to finally move direct. So we've been having this heavy concentration recently in terms of our ambition, which is all kind of Mars energy, like what we get excited about, what we're motivated by, driven to achieve. It's our masculine assertiveness that goes out and makes something happen. It's been moving through the sign of Gemini for a while. And so what this ultimately is having us do is get very clear on what we think about things, where we want to focus our attention and our learning, because Gemini is a lot about accumulating more information. And with the sun, particularly in Sagittarius, it's about then taking that information and assimilating it in our lives, embodying it, really living it in a way that it turns into wisdom through experience. I see Sagittarius as that embodiment wisdom, and I see Gemini as this open kind of spongy mind. And so we're getting a little bit of both of these energies right now because it's a full moon. And because Mars has been moving through Gemini for so long, this has already been kind of this storyline that we've been working on. This is not something brand new. This is something that is going to be a culmination period in this longer journey that we've been on. And so we might start to get more awareness around what it is that we actually want to do as a result of getting a lot of information. And that's because Mars is an action-oriented planet. And so it's not just about creating more like opportunities to learn and ingesting and consuming information, which I love because I'm a Gemini. But it's about then putting our money where our mouth is in some respects. But there's been something about the way that we've been taking action that we were missing information about. And that's why I think Mars has been going through such a long journey through Gemini and will continue into this next year. Because I think that many of us, wherever we have Gemini in our chart, we were taking action in some area of our life, and again, missing some key pieces of information that maybe made us feel like we weren't fully grounded into a really steady, present, purposeful way in that area of our life. So let's just say, for example, I have Gemini in my 10th house. Maybe there was some key information missing in my career that I was moving forward and producing and creating, but I was missing this really important aspect that is going to come online as a result of this full, complete journey of Mars and Gemini. And so at this particular full moon, which is about culminations, kind of seeing the results of something, I think that we're going to get a large hit of what that is supposed to be for us, what that goal is for us, what that action is for us that we can take in regards to some of these new ideas that have already been sort of coming into mind as a result of Mars moving through Gemini. So this is going to be something that we have already been kind of thinking about. We've already been kind of getting in touch with and experiencing, dabbling with, thinking about ideas, ruminations. And then this full moon is about taking that and solidifying it in a very real way. I was also pulling some cards around this, and one of the information pieces that I was getting was a lot about listening to your own truth. And this is especially true with the sun being in Sagittarius right now. We are very much being like accumulating this wisdom, this information, this dabbling experiences, these ideas, so that we can ultimately live in a more aligned and truthful way. And I think that the new moon in Sagittarius that happened recently was helping us understand that bigger picture why. And now that Mars is aligning with this full moon, I think it's coming in to fill in the little bits and pieces of information about how to tangibly move forward, but there may be ways in which people combat our existing ideas and preferences. And that's because Mars is a very aggressive planet. It's a planet of discord. And in Gemini, this is a lot about people thinking in different ways than us. And so one of the messages that was coming through really strongly was around our empowered inner authority and independence, that we don't need somebody to approve of ourselves and of our ideas in order to move forward on them. And that we might actually encounter people who are against our ideas to help us in some ways fortify what we truly want and desire. And so I would really encourage you guys to see this as an opportunity if you do find some people in your life that are kind of against what you want or giving you a hard time in some way. I would really encourage you guys to actually use this again as an opportunity to feel like you are more resolute and to get even stronger and clearer about who you are, why you want what you want. This is your soul's intuition, connecting with that and grounding in that so intensely that it doesn't feel like anything will move you. And this will be an opportunity for you to feel like you are gaining strength and almost momentum energetically in the direction towards this future goal. And so, yes, I think that's really important because it's not actual inner authority if you need somebody's approval in order to act on it, if you need somebody to validate you, because this is something that is coming from within, from a higher source, and that doesn't need to be validated by anything but your intuition. And I've actually experienced this when I first started doing astrology. My own family, I love them to death. They are very supportive of me now, but initially they were not supportive initially. You know, people, they didn't get it, and I didn't need them to get it because I got it. Not everyone finds this very easy. So I'd encourage you to look at Uranus in your chart to see where you kind of embody more of this rebellious or independent spirit, because that can sometimes be a little bit difficult. But I think many of us, because Mars is on this moon, will feel like we are stepping more fully into our power as a result of taking our autonomy, agency, and independence a lot more seriously in terms of the pursuit of these new ideas and these things that we're interested in. This moon is also making a trine to Saturn in Aquarius. So this is why I'm saying it's a lot about putting our money where our mouth is. Mars is very interested in pursuing a lot of these ideas, but the grounding of Saturn is going to help us become focused and solid in the pursuit of these ideas. However, this moon is also making a square to Neptune. And so this is a little bit concerning in terms of that clarity. Like there may be many ways in which we still feel like we are not fully clear or we're not fully focused. This in some ways to me, because Mars and Neptune both have an energy of releasing, letting go, dissolving, cutting away. This may mean that there are existing commitments that we actually need to let go of. And so this might not be the case for everyone. Some people might just feel like they need more clarity. But many of us may have things in the way of this new pursuit. So if I really want to go all in on this, what do I have to say no to as a result of that desire? This is something that I feel like I've been thinking a lot about towards this end of the year. I've been actually spending many months planning out my 2023 and thinking about what I want to achieve and who I even am in this world. And I have a lot of deep kind of philosophical questions and existential questions. And as a result, I've been getting really clear about where I want to spend my time, because our time, our life force energy, these are the most important resources that we have. And we can't say yes to everything and fully commit. And I think in many ways, we are being asked to fully commit to this new path, this new idea, by having some endings. And that's a lot about what full moons are. That's a lot about what Mars energy is. And then also, of course, Neptune, as I mentioned. It's about endings. And so I think in many ways, we're going to have to say no to some ideas, which could feel a little bit uncomfortable, and fully commit and say yes to others. And that's what Saturn is asking us to do. It's like, let's commit, let's focus. So it may feel like a sacrifice. It may feel like something that you don't want to say no to, but that's okay, because ultimately sacrificing something good for something great is going to get you what you want in the long run. And sometimes it's just saying no for right now. And so that's going to be the case for many of us. And for others, I think it could be a time for us to maybe engage more of our intuitive processes to understand how to move forward when we are confused. So if you kind of have an idea and you want to take a first step forward, but you don't really know all of the steps or have a whole plan, really being present, really surrendering to the process, and again, trusting your intuition is going to be the best way to move forward with this. The last aspect to the sun is a trine to Chiron. This is 4 degrees and separating, which means that we're going to really be experiencing it a little bit before this full moon. But regardless, I wanted to mention it because Chiron is in Aries and Mars conjunct the moon carries that same energy of Aries. Mars is a ruler of Aries. They both have that same fiery, masculine, assertive nature. So Chiron is an asteroid associated with wounding, and a lot of times it can bring up deep insecurity and deep self-doubt, and especially in the sign of Aries, where we're supposed to be very committed to who we are, what we have to offer, our confidence, our inner strength and authority. Those things are often called into question when Chiron is moving through Aries. So many of us are trying to find our footing around our own inner authority wherever we have Chiron in our chart, wherever we have Aries in our chart. So it's really helpful that this sun is making a trine to Chiron because it's going to give us an opportunity as we engage this Mars, as we engage our inner authority, say, this is what I want. I'm taking action. I don't care what other people say. I'm not letting people dissuade me from my intuition. I don't have to have a full plan. I'm not impulsive, but I'm also not lacking in action. And so us reclaiming our inner authority and our inner warrior is what is going to help us transcend some of these ego issues that comes up with Chiron and Aries, where we feel like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And it's like our really wounded, soft ego. So the sun trining Chiron is saying we are helping heal some of those parts of us and taking a step forward in a new and confident way. We also have Mercury moving into the sign of Capricorn at the start of this new moon. So many of us, wherever we have Capricorn in our chart, are going to kind of get this boost of energy and rumination, I should say, where we might find new ideas, where we might feel like we are able to understand things a little bit better. And this is especially true because Venus is still conjunct Mercury at the time of this full moon, although it is separating. So the strong aspect of it has ended. It's still giving us the potential to carry over some beautiful blessings of wisdom and understanding into the area of our life wherever Capricorn is, especially because this is also making a square to Jupiter, which is a planet associated with wisdom from past lives. So Mercury square Jupiter can help us tap into those past life skills and innate abilities around wisdom and understanding, and kind of pour that into whatever area of our life we have Capricorn in. And so, for example, I have this in my 4th house. So for me to have Capricorn in my 4th, I might start to understand more about my past, more about my internal world, more about my home or my family from a higher perspective. The only thing I would encourage you to be wary of here is the overindulgence and over-optimism that can come from Venus making a square to Jupiter and Mercury squaring Jupiter and feeling like anything is possible. We can create anything. Yes, it's true, but we can also sometimes jump the gun. We can invest too much too quickly. And so it's just really important for us to kind of gauge where we're at in current present time in order to assess what we should be spending money on, where we should be eating food. And I've been kind of experiencing this. I'm like, why am I so hungry? So you guys might be getting a little bit of a taste of that. And this can generally improve relationships overall. And our ability to plan long term. So this is great for visions, insights for the future, especially because it is Capricorn, which is very concerned with longevity, and Jupiter, which is very good at seeing the end result of things. So just know that the ability to kind of bring it back to the present moment is going to be important, so that you realize that some of the things that you're seeing now are not actually what you need to do right now. You need to take that vision and draw it back 10 steps to where you're currently at in your life, and not anticipate too much and like plan too much for this, 10th step, if that's making sense. It's like opening a business and saying you're going to immediately start doing this huge program when people don't even know you yet. It's like, well, let's first take it back and build an audience and like build this validity and authority in this realm of influence. So anyway, I think you guys understand what I'm saying. The last thing I'll mention is Venus making a square to Neptune. So this has a lot to do with accessing our creative side of ourselves. The vision for kind of what we want to create in a way that's going to allow us to feel more feminine and more in flow, and maybe more activated within our senses and sensuality. So a lot of this energy is like Mars, it's masculine, it's active, but Venus square Neptune is passive and gentle and receptive, and again in flow. And so this, I think, is a really helpful aspect, even though it is 4 degrees separating and kind of already in the past. We'll still get a little bit of touch here of it. And even though it's not necessarily my favorite in terms of relationships and spending money, because it can make us a little bit out of touch, I do think it's really beneficial with so much masculine energy at this full moon to access some of that flow state in order to derive that future vision, and feel like you are in touch with your intuition and not just that analytical side of your brain. Okay. Ultimately, I think we are solidifying these new ideas. We're feeling inspired, hopeful. We are learning. We are also contributing to existing things. And I think that's for many of us what I'm kind of seeing with this trine with Neptune and Mars, is that the things that we're building right now we're building upon existing things. I don't think many of us are starting new things. It's a full moon. It's a culmination. It's an ending. So the information, the ideas, the things that we act on now are not about new things. They are about the existing things, and adding in layers or having a full understanding of them. So that's kind of the last thing I wanted to end on. Now let's go ahead and jump into the forecast for all of the rising signs, and definitely watch for your sun sign too. I don't want to go super into detail about why, but generally the houses for the rising signs make the most sense, but sun signs are also helpful. So I'll see you guys there. Bye. All right, up first I have my beautiful Aries rising. So for you guys, this full moon is happening in your 3rd house in the sign of Gemini, which means the sun is opposite it in the sign of Sagittarius. So it's funny because I was pulling cards and I got so many air cards. And of course, naturally, this is an air sign. Full moon is going to be quite a bit of mental chatter, ideas, but especially true for you guys because the 3rd house also has a lot to do with our mind and mental clarity. And so I think that many of you guys could have the potential right now to realize how your mind has been maybe getting the better of you. Mars is your ruling planet, and it is also right next to the moon. It's conjunct this full moon. And so I think there are many ways in which, having your ruling planet in the sign of Gemini for so long, which is all the way until March of next year, and also at this full moon, is indicating a hyper arousal state that I'm a little bit concerned. So some of you guys may have had more anxiety, maybe even sometimes depressiveness, but more so on the scale of rumination. So like my thoughts have been leading me down this one path, or I'm having trouble making decisions. Like I kind of want to do this and I kind of want to do that. Just a lot of mental energy and lots of new ideas. I think it could also be really exciting, really stimulating. It doesn't have to be negative. It could be kind of like feels like a lot of possibilities, a lot of open doorways. But regardless, that can lead to like that state of kind of like feeling high vibrational, not in terms of like in terms of frequency, like I'm quite literally like moving faster. And so there may be this kind of nervousness that can come with that, regardless of if it's positive or if it's more on the anxiety level, which could be perceived as negative. So I think you guys have been kind of going through that as it is. And then this full moon is going to hopefully give you like a wrap up or culmination of that energy and give you a little bow or a present. I feel like I'm getting sick. Give you like a little bow or a present to be like, okay, here you go. This is your gift for going through this experience. You get this idea, this insight, this next step to take action on. And I think for many of you guys, it's also a time in which your friend group in particular can feel like it's in a good place. Because you've been having Saturn move through your 11th house, which can give this kind of feeling of disconnection or not belonging. And I think that many of you guys have been putting more effort there, working on it. You know, how can I create a sense of community and belonging? How can I create these really beautiful long-term goals for myself and kind of follow through on them and delay gratification? The very Saturn and 11th house topics, those two things. So I think that having Mars in the sign of Gemini is almost like a lot of instant gratification. It's not really about the long term, but thankfully, and it's also quite social. So it's like about meeting lots and lots of people, but not necessarily creating solid commitments to people. And so because this full moon is making a trine to Saturn the 11th, I think it's helping ground some of that energy so that you're like, okay, I've met all these people. These are the ones I want to hang out with. These are the people I like that I could see myself being friends with. Or, okay, I have all these brand new ideas. I've tried all these different things. This is the kind of long-term plan I want to commit to. I've already thought about all these different possibilities. This is my decision. And so I think some of you guys could be making a decision at this particular time, either around a future goal or a friend group or anything along the lines of kind of what you want to do with your life. However, this moon is also making a square to Neptune. And so there may be ways as well in which you still are not totally certain about the way that you want to move forward. The square to Neptune as well can make you feel like I guess my advice would be like, don't act hastily. Like, don't make the decision kind of assuming the best possible outcome and like jumping into it head first. Definitely, I think the full moons are often about culminations or kind of getting something out of an experience. So if you want to commit to something, like, sure, so be it. But this square with Neptune also is saying like it might not be exactly how you think it's going to be. It might evolve and take you by surprise in some ways. And a lot of this is about surrendering to just the unfolding of life and not having to feel like you fully understand everything before you jump into it. Also, the 12th house in Neptune can bring up things from the past where you're able to reflect and heal on them, especially because the sun is making a trine to Chiron in your first house. So there can be a process of letting go. So this like surrendering is also about you surrendering maybe some ways in which you felt like you've been processing childhood wounding. There could be some kind of like leap forward at this full moon where like, yeah, I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I'm actually, some of these things that I reflected upon and that have been haunting me for a while when I was younger, I'm starting to have more awareness around them, which is a Gemini full moon. Mars is your ruling planet. You're having a lot more self-awareness. And this could be, again, tied to things. The self-awareness and all this could be tied to the things related to what I was talking about earlier around friend groups and belonging, or kind of your future goals and what you're trying to create. And so I think many of you guys could be having healing taking place that allows you to have even more clarity and then ultimately make certain decisions. And so I think it could be a really freeing time, a time in which you feel a little bit lighter, like you are excited and stimulated, maybe a little bit anxious, but also finding some ways to kind of ground that energy into a purposeful pursuit or decision and not ruminate unnecessarily long. You also just had Mercury move into your 10th house of career, into the sign of Capricorn. So many of you guys will be having more ideas and kind of creativity come through in terms of planning for your next steps in your career. So especially because Venus is also still conjunct Mercury at this time in the sign of Sagittarius. So and then also you're having both of them make a square to Jupiter in the 12th. So I think many of you guys are feeling some of that kind of excitement of percolating about, oh, there's something new on the horizon. There's some new ideas that want to come through for me, feeling inspiration and hope. And maybe some of you guys are making decisions about what that next direction is. And then maybe some other of you guys are actually feeling like there's something waiting, but it's not quite here yet. And I think that could be true because Jupiter in the 12th does give me that feeling of we're about to have a birthing process. We're about to have Jupiter in your first house in this next year, but it slipped back into Pisces. You know, it's not quite there right now. And so it's like we're about to emerge from this cocoon with brand new growth opportunities, brand new ideas for career things. And it's like, what is that going to be? You know, how am I going to be in the future? So for some of you guys who might have an inkling now, or you might kind of like already know, then for many of you guys, I think the full-fledged shebang in terms of how you're going to grow this next year is going to become apparent this next year, which that doesn't make sense, but you're going to get an inkling for it now is what I'm trying to say. And then lastly, Venus in the 9th squaring Neptune in the 12th. So I think many of you guys could be going under some belief shifts around relationships. And that's, I think, really feeding into, again, this trine with Saturn in the 11th house, where you are feeling like, what are my values? Who do I want to be around? And you're committing to those people. And so many of you guys will maybe have the opportunity to kind of look at your relationships in a different perspective than before. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Aries. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. And if you want a reading from me, definitely check me out at willowspoon.com. I also have an astrology course there, so I hope to see you there. Bye. All right, I'm next to have my beautiful Taurus rising. So for you guys, this full moon in Gemini is happening in your 2nd house of finances. The sun is opposite it in the 8th house, and this full moon is also conjunct Mars, the moon is. So I really feel like many of you guys are getting some kind of blessing. I pulled the 9 of Cups and 9 of Pentacles, or 6 of Pentacles, as well as 2 of Pentacles. So first of all, I do feel like many of you guys have been feeling really busy in terms of kind of work and maybe keeping up with responsibilities and ways that you kind of put food on the table. So I think that there is some sort of self-care happening now, or nurturing from the universe happening now that's like, okay, we see that you've been working really hard. We see that you've been hustling, especially for your career, because this is a full moon trining Saturn in the 10th. You've been really putting the effort into that area of your life and your career. So we're going to give you the blessing of feeling a sense of contentment and ease and satisfaction with yourself and the work that you've done, as well as receive reciprocity for that effort. So that's what I feel like with 9 of Cups and 6 of Pentacles is it's your hard work paying off, not only in terms of getting financial rewards for it, but also feeling like you are emotionally satisfied, you are emotionally fulfilled, which at the end of the day is kind of the most important thing, that you're growing as a person and getting something out of this. The 2 of Pentacles, I feel like, is also kind of reiterating that you've been really hustling and sometimes actually getting things like paying off, things getting a reward out of things. My God. Getting a reward out of things can also mean that there is still a lot to juggle. So I don't necessarily feel like this is slowing down per se. If you have been feeling busy, I feel like getting rewards from this can continue to give you a lot of things to juggle and responsibilities. You might have 2 priorities in particular that could feel like they're at odds with each other that you have to balance and coordinate. Like, oh, I really care about this, my child or this relationship, but I also care about my career. Like, how am I going to do that? So that could be something that comes up for you guys. But ultimately, it feels really fulfilling. Like, oh, I mean, too much of a good thing is still a good thing, right? So yes, and I think many of you guys also with the sun being in Sagittarius in the 8th, you may feel like you are becoming more confident as a result of your career. So I feel like it's giving you the opportunity to kind of confront and work through ways in which you felt like, oh, I don't know if I'm enough. I don't know if I'm doing good enough. But because you've been taking so much action and not letting your head get in the way, I feel like ultimately you are going to grow in confidence a lot more. And Mars going to the second house is solidifying our sense of self-worth. And it's been journeying here for a while, and it's going to continue till March of next year. And once this moves out of Gemini for you guys, you're going to have almost like a renewed sense of value. Like, this is what I'm worth. I'm not going to charge less than this. I'm not going to tolerate less than this as a person, because you've done a lot of this kind of internal work with the sun in the 8th house, revealing where the little cracks and crevices were in terms of your self-confidence. And you're doing all this work on it to like cover those cracks up in a way that's really solid and going to protect you in the future. This moon is also making a square up to the 11th. So there could be ways in which you are dissipating energy, dreaming about future goals, or ways in which your social life also could feel like it's unknown in some facets. So, and that's kind of, let me pull a card for that, because that's kind of where I feel like you guys might still be juggling like different energies. Okay, I got the Queen of Pentacles. So yeah, the Queen of Pentacles is a lot about having our, to me, it's like a lot about having our plan, right? Like, this is who I am. This is what I have to offer. This is what I want to achieve in life. And you're kind of focused on creating that independence and stability for yourself. And so maybe there are some ways in which your like friendships and your community are growing and enhancing, but also you're continuing to focus on your career as well. And so that might be sometimes confusing, about like, okay, well, I want to make money, but like I also really want to be with my friends. And so that might be the Two of Pentacles like kind of dilemma of juggling that I'm seeing for you guys is, I want to be independent and focus on being a boss-ass bitch, but I also really care about these friends. And so that just might be something that comes up for you a little bit at this time. You also have the sun making a trine to Chiron on the 12th. This is really, really nice to have some time alone, to feel like your soul's being rejuvenated in a really big way. So if you can create some kind of sanctuary, which was a card I pulled for you guys, for yourself, some kind of place that's just for you, almost like a little like an alcove, or like something that helps you in a ritualistic way. Like, I go here in my little corner and I meditate and I have my altar, whatever you have. Something like that, even if it's like very practical, like even if it's just you taking time alone in your car before you get out and go home to your family. There may be a need to kind of separate yourself a little bit at this time, because I think that you're going to get a lot of nurturing and care from the universe, from yourself, if you just can take a little bit of time to just be alone. And I think that's going to be really important for you guys. I think you'll find that you're more creative and inspired and happy just from that little bit of time that you're carving out for yourself. You guys also have Mercury moving into Capricorn in your 9th house. So many of you guys are getting great visions and insight about what you want to do in the future. Maybe some of you are learning something new as a result of this, or you're just getting new ideas about kind of exactly what you want to do in the future, especially because Venus is still conjunct Mercury. So many of us are getting those blessings about what these ideas can bring us. And for many of you, because Venus is your chart ruler, this could bring you more finances, because this is where this full moon is taking place. So if you do kind of want to study something new, this might have the potential to bring you money later down the line. So don't discourage yourself from doing that, especially because Mercury is making a square to Jupiter, which is also associated with learning and teaching. So if there's something around that that's like new for you that you haven't done before, or that you've been thinking about but you haven't acted on, definitely go for it. This will help you also continue to invest in your friendships and your relationships and have a good time there. But you may also kind of overindulge and feel a little bit out of balance if that is the case. So just kind of watch that. And the last thing I'll say is you have Venus in the 8th making a square to Neptune in the 11th house. So I think for many of you guys, this illumination around where you have accepted less than you deserve could come into your relationships, because I'm seeing something around like your friendships taking energy from you or distracting you, being a growth opportunity for you. But with Neptune squaring, or Venus in the 8th squaring Neptune, it's like, this is what I deserve, this is what I want. And then your relationships, they need to undergo some kind of change in order to reflect that sense of worthiness. I just pulled the Page of Pentacles. So maybe there's also like new relationships coming in for you guys, new people that you're establishing. And there may be things that, if there are new relationships, there may be old stuff that comes up when you meet new people. It's like, oh, I didn't realize I didn't really trust people that much. I need to work on this part of myself. So Venus in the 8th can kind of show where we have some of that leftover residue, especially coming out in our relationships. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys. I hope that resonates. If it does, please give me a thumbs up and comment down below. And if you guys want to learn astrology from me, check me out at willowsbloom.com, or you guys can get a reading from me there too. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, I'm next to my fellow Geminis. So this full moon is happening in your sign in the 1st house. And that means the sun is opposite in the sign of Sagittarius in your 7th house of relationships. So this is an exciting one because this is a full moon in your sign. I did decide to pull some extra cards just for you guys. And it's funny because this full moon is exactly conjunct Mars. And Mars has been in your sign for a while. It's going to continue to be there until March of next year. And it just has this very stimulating energy. Like, I want to work hard. I want to create. I want to do this. I want to learn more. I'm already feeling it because I'm a Gemini. And so, yeah, you guys are already having this hyper stimulation towards your goals. So wherever you have Mars, that's where you're motivated to move forward. And for me, I have it in my career. So I have been thinking so much, what do I want long term? What can I do right now? How can I plan for success? Take action towards this. And I think because this is a full moon, it's a wrapping up of a cycle. So it's like, okay, I have worked really hard up to this point, and now this is a turning point. And Mars is also about endings. However, I do feel like this is not just like, oh, this cycle ends and that's it, because Mars is still in Gemini until the end of March, or sometime in March. I don't know what the exact date off the top of my head. But what that is indicating to me is that this is like a moment of illumination, a moment of like closure or achieving something, or, you know, crossing your T's, dotting your I's in a longer storyline. So it's not like this is the end all be all, but this feels significant. And for many of you guys, it could show something about, you know, your personality or your life direction, or even how you want to take care of your health. Mars is very health oriented. Something I forgot to mention at the beginning is that I think many of us, as a result of this full moon, can start to become aware of how we want to now manage our mental and physical health, which are intricately tied. And that's going to be even more so the case for you guys. And I think it's really going to help you achieve a very specific vision and plan for your long-term future, because it's making a trine to Saturn in the 9th. So it's like, okay, I've done all this action, this exploration, this dabbling, this excitement. But now how do I focus and hone in on exactly the plan of what I'm trying to manifest, and from a place of a deeper why, a soulful perspective. So it's like all of this external absorption is being honed in on a very Sagittarius, Sun and Sagittarius in 9th house manner of, like, why do I need this information anyway? Why am I trying to do this anyway? And that is your guiding light. And I think that came really at the last new moon. It's like, what's my purpose here? And now we're getting that culmination period of like, okay, let's move forward along this path now with your purpose. And we're going to seek some kind of like idea culminate, or some kind of result culminate where we can now dig our teeth fully into something over the next however many months it is until March. So it's like I feel like we're getting that nice, sweet, juicy steak, even though I'm a vegan, and we have the next 6 months or however long that is to eat it. And so I really see that with the Beaver card. It's like, girlfriend, you are just starting your work. Like, this is a big time of action, and this full moon can represent the idea or the thing that you know you want to take action on. I also pulled this Lizard card. So in order to take action on something, you may have to stop something. This is especially true for you guys because Mars is in your sign. So you can't be the same person that you want to be right now and get what you're looking for. You have to make big changes to who you are. And that's what I feel like this 10 of Wands is saying. You are burning away this old version of yourself and having a completion of this old version of yourself. And as a result, it's moving you forward really quickly with this 8 of Fire, 8 of Wands, towards your goals. Because you were able to shed off, you know, Courtney 2.0, you're going to Courtney 3.0. You know, you got boost with that. You got 90 miles per hour versus 60 miles per hour. You know, like you got the bigger engine. And so I feel like this is very exciting, but just be a little bit careful in terms of managing your energy, because Mars in your sign for so long, and the 10 of Wands and the 8 of Wands is all this very fast-paced energy. And so you're going to have to be very conscious of self-regulation, emotional regulation, energetic regulation. This could be looking like doing more restorative activities, being very aware of how you're managing your time and energy day to day, and all the little ways that you're reducing your energy or taking away your energy. That could be checking social media for 15 minutes and not realizing that that's truly actually taking a toll for longer than that. Or even just simple things like context switching. Like, I'm going to do this task and that task and like oscillate and be distracted, which is very Mars and Gemini. You're not realizing that you're dissipating energy. So you're going to have to be, again, super conscious of rebuilding that energy source. I say that especially because you also have this moon making a square to Neptune in the 10th. That can be energy dissipating, especially in terms of like career, goal planning. It can be really exciting because it's like a lot about inspiration and pondering and like, what do I want to create? What am I envisioning for myself? Feeling, again, that inspiration towards your career and what you want to achieve out in the world, or towards these long-term goals for yourself. And I feel like that's what I see with this Knight of Cups is like a lot of that soulful kind of musing energy. But the Knight of Cups is also, it's not super grounded in reality. So there may be some aspects of this full moon where you are feeling very inspired, but it's somewhat out of touch with reality. Not in terms that you can't have what you want, but there is a lot of unknown factors still, and maybe you don't actually have all the details. So it's like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's instead be more masterful and work on honing our craft, work on getting really good at the things we're doing right now, and not get ahead of ourselves or too excited about the unknown, because there is a lot of unknown here still. I feel like there's still a lot that is going to be uncovered over the next however many months while Mars is still in Gemini. So you guys are dealing a lot with this kind of transition period, which means that things can land in a different spot than you intended initially. Not to be this worse, it's probably better, but it's not always what you think it's going to be. And so as a result, it's like, don't waste too much energy creating really like, don't waste too much energy getting so wrapped up in a very specific vision, because that vision can change as you change. You also have the Sun trining Chiron in your 11th house. So many of you guys may experience some healing around what it even means to have a vision for you. Maybe you've been a little bit more down or like less receptive to possibilities, as well as having some healing in relationships. And sometimes Mars in your first house can indicate like a definitive ending within yourself. And because it's a full moon where the Sun is in the 7th, there may be some endings in relationships as well. That might not be the case, but that is possible. That's not really the vibe I'm getting, but regardless, I feel like there's going to be healing happening in your community, in your relationships, and your ability to connect with others. You guys also have Mercury moving into Capricorn in your 8th house, and I pulled the introspection card. So I think many of you guys are coming into a state of higher self-awareness, where you are realizing the ways in which you have been feeling vulnerable, in which you've been feeling maybe triggered by past events. And Mercury here is like, okay, let's work through this. Let's communicate about this. Let's dig a little bit deeper into my own psyche and have some healing take place as a result of that. Especially because Venus is here along with it. It's going to give us that beautiful benefit, and it's making a square to Jupiter in the 10th. So this could be really related to your career, your objectives, like having healing and introspection and inner peace come as a result of diving into kind of what has happened in your career in the past, and why maybe things haven't worked out for you in some ways and have in others. And that understanding is really going to be giving you that peace ultimately, because you're going to have a new awakening, a new awareness for yourself. Lastly, you have Venus in the 7th making a square to Neptune in the 10th. So there may be ways in which you're not fully understanding how your relationships will fit into your career long term. But don't worry, this is something that will come with time. This is maybe not the time to figure out the long-term version of relationships. This is maybe not the time to force it. Just kind of go with the flow, allow things to just be as they are. I think ultimately you'll find that the right answers come to you at the right time. So that's what I see for you, Gemini. I hope that resonates. I hope you have a beautiful full moon in your signs. It's always an exciting time. If you want a reading from me, check me out at willowsboom.com. I offer tons of different readings there, and I also teach astrology there if you're interested. And I hope you have a great one. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Cancer rising. For you guys, this full moon in Gemini is happening in your 12th house, which makes a lot of sense actually. With some of these cards I was pulling, I pulled the Death card, which always has to do with some kind of ending. Full moons in the 12th house are classic cards of classic signs of ending, especially because this full moon is conjunct Mars, which is a planet of cutting ties, cutting things off, walking away from things, which ultimately will free us up to new energy, better things that are more aligned and meant for us. And I think for many of you guys, you might be feeling some intensity to this. Like, I definitely am getting a lot of like fire, anger, even I pulled the sexuality card, and this could also be, it's all coming from the same place. It's all Mars, right? It's that like the anger, the fire, the sexuality, all of that is the same thing. And I think this ending is ultimately kind of reigniting that flame within you. And it might be also leading to some anxiety, because Mars in the 12th house conjunct the moon, especially in Gemini, is a little bit more anxious prone. Then on top of that, this is trining Saturn in the 8th house, and I pulled the 9 of Swords. So this is kind of like, I've got a lot on my mind. I'm worried about my sense of security. And so, especially long term and vulnerability and all of that. And so you might be a little bit more anxious right now as a result of some of these thoughts and these endings happening. Especially about money, because I pulled the 4 of Pentacles, the 4 of Earth. I think some of you guys might be kind of shifting into a mode of saving, self-preservation, and things of that nature. Like, I'm really getting a sense of let's protect, let's kind of draw our energy back, because there's some changes that are happening where I need to protect myself and my energy and my money and things of that nature. However, I feel like you guys are getting some beautiful things happening as a result of this. And I pulled the Empress and the Ace of Fire, the Ace of Wands, which is indicating that many of you guys might be feeling like that fire is turned back on, and can specifically help you guys, especially within your career. And also just about thinking about what you want to create next in your life. So it's like, okay, well, this thing didn't work out, so maybe I still feel a little anxious about that, but like, where else can I put this energy? You know, what can I do next? What's the next step? And the sun is trining Chiron in your 10th house of career. So I think many of you guys are starting to feel like, not just your career, but your like life goals, your objectives, what you want to create. I feel like many of you guys are starting to feel like you are stepping into more confidence or more excitement in that area of your life. and not feeling as wounded or as insecure as maybe you've been feeling. So ultimately, I think this is helping benefit you in this area of your life. You just had Mercury also move into your 7th house of relationships in the sign of Capricorn. So many of you guys are also thinking a lot more about, you know, your relationships with people, kind of learning a lot about that area of your life, self-reflecting a little bit more, especially because Mercury is conjunct Venus still. So there is a lot here going on in terms of thinking about your dynamics with other people, and they're both making a square to Jupiter in the 9th. So I think it's going to help give you wisdom and downloads. If there is something that ended in your life related to other people, I think you're going to start to learn and process and integrate that experience, so that you can improve your relationships moving forward. And then lastly, you guys have Venus in the 6th house making a square to Neptune in the 9th house. I think that you guys are kind of stuck between the current version of your reality and existing limitations and how you want your life to be and how an ideal life would look like for you. And so there may be this uncomfortable feeling of, how do I have a foot in both worlds? How do I be practical while also being idealist and dreaming and a visionary? And so this is a square which is asking for a creative solution to blend the two energies together. So maybe spending some time thinking about how you can bring that vision into your current reality while still kind of honoring your existing responsibilities and existing reality of your life. So that seemed really fast, but that's really what I'm seeing for you guys. Let me pull one more card as an advice card for you, just because you've been going through a lot. Let's see. Do we have any advice for Cancer? Okay. This falls on the floor. We have Nurture, the Lemon Balm card. Let's see what that says. Earth Mother, access to the ways of Earth, planetary guardian, balance of feelings and emotions, nurturance. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting with this Empress card as well. Is like, I feel like you guys are being nurtured through this transition. The Empress is very much an abundant card. It's one where we feel like, okay, yes, maybe things haven't always been perfect, but I'm supported, I'm taken care of, I'm safe. And so I think that you guys are needing to kind of nurture and parent and mother yourself from this very beautiful, loving, unconditional place that the Empress comes from. It says, give yourself permission to mother the deepest core of yourself. Listen to your inner child. Retrieve the unconscious parts of your past. Forgive yourself and liberate the inner child that has remained silenced. Lemon Balm assists us in reconnecting to the gentle power of nurturance. Her soft and gentle touch reminds us to connect to the Great Mother in all her shapes and forms. Where can I soften and receive? How can I access my inner child to access greater wholeness? And this symbolizes the magic of nectar, vitality, and prosperity, the great inner and outer wealth that's ahead. So that's the Empress for you guys. I think that ultimately there were ways in which your inner child was being neglected in your previous situation. And now that an ending has taken place, it's ultimately trying to unlock that ultimate self-love, which will help you actually achieve the abundance that the Empress has to offer. With the Ace of Wands, I don't feel like it's already here yet. I don't feel like you guys have this brand new career path yet, but it seems like the inspiration is here. It seems like the fire is coming back online, but ultimately it's going to only be coming to you if you are taking care of yourself and nurturing the inner child. And a full moon in the 12th house has a lot to do with our past. So whatever ending has taken place may have a lot to do with kind of recurring themes and patterns in the past around your subconscious, around your inner child, around the way that you grew up. And so it's very helpful to look back into that to see what repeating cycle is happening this time around. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Cancer. I hope that resonates. Good luck with this one for you guys. If you want a reading from me, you can check me out at willows.com, and I also teach astrology there. So if you want to learn astrology, definitely check that out. And I hope you have a great one. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Leo rising. So this full moon in Gemini is in your 11th house conjunct Mars, opposite the sun in the 5th house. So this is very exciting because ultimately the 11th and 5th house have a lot to do with accumulation, especially as a result of past efforts, things looking up, things growing, increasing. It's quite literally houses of increase. And so ultimately I feel like you guys are gaining some kind of traction towards a goal or seeing some kind of exciting culmination. And this moon is also, as I said, is conjunct Mars. So it's kind of reflecting all these past efforts. It's not just something that happened, right? This is something that you've been hustling for. You've been putting your sweat equity into in a very excited and passionate way. And I pulled the King of Wands, King of Fire, which I feel like is you guys. You guys have been working from the heart, feeling like you are stepping more into like a leadership position, which is great for Leo. Feeling like, okay, yes, I want this. I'm going to level up. I'm going to take control over myself and maybe even other people. Depends on your situation. But it just feels like you are almost at a place where you are not only maybe delegating, but inspiring people by just being yourself. And this could be if you are like a boss or something, you're inspiring the people that work under you. But regardless, I think you literally just hustling towards your dreams and your goals is ultimately giving you this kind of glow up effect where people are starting to notice how much effort you've been put in, how well you're doing. The sun is in your 5th house, which tends to bring a bit of that spotlight energy anyway. And so I think that people are starting to really like love and respect the action that you've been taking towards your goals. And I think ultimately it is paying off for you in many ways. I pulled the Chariot and the 9 of Cups. These cards are about progress and moving forward towards things that really fulfill you emotionally. And this moon is making a trine to Saturn in your 7th house. So this could also have to do with the relationship moving forward in some significant way. Or if you are making progress towards a goal, your relationship, your partner, your business partner, a friend is acting as a strong support system or coming with you in some way. And it's actually solidifying what is happening not only in this goal or this dream, but also in your friend group, in your relationship. And this could also be specifically in friends as well. Like maybe you are coming out there and being seen in some kind of community or network or people interested in similar things. And people are like, wow, you're really good at this. Like your work is really paying off. And I'm noticing you. And the Chariot card is saying that things are moving forward really quickly. So it's like they're noticing your talents, your skills, your effort, and they're attracted to it and they're trying to help you as a result. Because the 11th house is a house of benefactors where we get that support. So you guys might notice like someone opens this door for me and I can run right through it and my life moves a lot faster as a result. And it's again something that's really emotionally fulfilling. And I think it's really going to again help your feeling of belonging. It's going to help your feeling of connection and just like improve relationships in general, especially like really close, chosen, intimate relationships with this Saturn in the 7th house. There's a commitment here typically with something like that. This is breakthrough as well. So I feel like this is something you guys have been wanting. This is some desire that's been kind of, you've been working towards it, but maybe you haven't necessarily put all of your eggs in one basket as, you know, as a result, because maybe you felt like it wasn't possible. This feels like a breakthrough that's like, oh, I didn't expect this, or I didn't know this was going to happen this fast. And it's moving quickly as a result. And this is self-love card. So I feel like it's because you have been prioritizing yourself. And with this King of Fire, King of Wands, following your passions, following your heart, which is also an expression of self-love, that you're getting so much progress because the universe really responds to that level of passion and excitement. This moon is also making a square to Neptune in the 8th house. So there are ways in which you are still undergoing some healing, in which your insecurities are not fully resolved, even though you are stepping into greater degrees of self-love. The square of Neptune in the 8th is still like you want a little bit of that life raft. If you are moving forward in your life, there's still a lot of unknowns, and it can feel like it might sometimes trigger insecurity, being uncertain with oneself, especially if you're given more opportunities to level up and do something different. you might feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this, or you might have kind of deep-seated fears around being made fun of or not being good enough, kind of very common themes with Leo. So that could come up at this time. But ultimately, with the sun trining Chiron on the 9th, I think you are given a lot more healing around your level of inspiration and hope and faith in yourself. And I think that will help support you through this process. You guys also have Mercury moving into Capricorn in your 6th house. So you guys might be getting more information and news coming through your workplace. Things might pick up a little bit. You might have contracts kind of coming through, especially with Venus here. Again, you might feel like you might have some stuff coming through in regards to finances and relationships and communication within the workplace that can become more prominent. Mercury and Venus are squaring Jupiter in the 8th house, so this could have to do with like taxes or other people's money. So this is kind of just thinking really practically. And then maybe in some ways, the people who have been working really hard will start to see that that effort again is paying off. But with the square in Jupiter in the 8th house, you might there might be ways in which you are feeling like let me pull a card, because there is something I want to say, but I'm not totally convinced that's what I want to say. So let's see. Because 8 of fire. Okay. Because this is kind of basically what I want to say. I feel like you guys are going to want to jump the gun a little bit. Like, oh, I'm feeling so great. And like, I'm growing so much. And I'm just going to like full steam ahead. And there may be ways though that you still have to like actually come and back down to like, this is my plan. This is my schedule. These are the things I have to work on, because Mercury square Jupiter is a lot about jumping to step C instead of going through step A and B. And sometimes when we feel like we are growing in confidence, we can overestimate how well we're doing and like forget that we have insecurities and trauma, things that we still are needing to ultimately learn from. And so you might like jump really quickly into something and then realize, oh, there's still a little bit of this stuff here that I need to kind of work through. And yeah. Venus in the 5th squaring Neptune in the 8th, I feel like can really show that. Like, I'm in my flow, I'm with these new friends, or I'm being seen for this new skill or whatever it is. And then it can bring up this fear of like, oh gosh, what if they don't like me? Or what if this brings up this trauma from the past, which can be kind of difficult with the Neptune in the 8th house. So ultimately, really, really positive. Just take things one step at a time. Things are going to be moving quickly, but especially because it's as a result of your own willpower that you've put into this so far. I think doors will open for you, but don't jump all the way to the end result, because you still have some like inner processing to do along the way to get ready for that phase of your life. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Leo. If that resonates, please let me know by giving me a like and commenting down below. And if you want astrology reading, definitely check me out at willowsboom.com. I also teach astrology there if you want to learn how to do this for yourself. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Virgo risings. So this full moon in Gemini is happening in your 10th house of career conjunct Mars. And that means the sun is in your 4th house right now. So there may be ways in which you guys have been really thinking a lot about your career, but also kind of like a little bit more of a homebody with your sun set the 4th house. December might feel a little bit more like a time for family or a time to just self-reflect and go within. And I think this is ultimately going to help you go out into the world with this Mars and moon in your 10th house and construct something that is really authentic to who you are. I'm seeing that especially with the Ace of Fire and the Ace of Wands and the Knight of Cups. I think that you guys are getting really inspired by something at this time. And that's what Mars is all about. So I think that there's something you are inspired to do, to take action on in your life goals and in your career. And this actually for me is feeling like something that is going back to something in the past, something that you've already worked on developing a little bit. It's kind of like you're tool bag, your toolbox, and you've got all these different tools. It's like you're going back to an old tool and adding it to the repertoire for something that you're going to use moving forward. I see that with the Six of Cups and the Eight of Earth. And many of you guys, this could have to do with kind of reflecting on your childhood and reflecting on your essence and how you were growing up and what it is that you have to really bring to the table. I mean, it could be like that, but I also think it's a very practical thing of I used to do this thing and now I can reactivate this skill within myself and bring it out into my career, because Mars retrograde is a lot about kind of hitting refresh and a reset on what we've invested our time into and what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, and asking ourselves if there's ways we can improve that. And for many of us, that is about also reclaiming old parts of ourselves, old things that we used to do, reinventing it for our current self, and aligning that also with what we already want to do, what we already are doing, and kind of making it a more holistic, beautiful version of ourselves and the action that we're taking. And this is especially true because it's making a trine to Saturn the 6th. So many of you guys are also going to start creating some type of realistic schedule to reflect the incorporation of these new activities or these old new things, and bringing everything together in a cohesive way. Saturn the 6th house feels like a system or some kind of productivity that will work for you. So it's like, okay, I'm going to take care of my health in this way. I'm going to make sure I'm going to, let's say you used to be a yoga instructor and then you want to start incorporating more of that. So it's like, okay, I'm going to create an hour out of every day or every week where I can go and practice yoga or teach yoga or learning about that more, even though I already have kind of experience with that. So it's like you're quite literally carving out time of your life and of your day to put something from your past back into your schedule in the present. If it's not that specifically, it's about how you're going to make that old thing work with what you're doing in the new thing. And in a very practical sense with the 6th house, it's like, how is this going to be of service? How is this going to help my work, my job, my life, my health, my mental health? And you might even use some of those things on yourself and to improve your personal life as well. I also pulled the humility and the rewilding card. So I think that you guys are, it's funny because I think that these go together. Rewilding feels like very much an activation of the Mars, where we're removing the layers over us that have prevented us from our most authentic, wild, natural expression within our career. And with the humility card, I feel like you guys have maybe been overly humble up to this point in time, where you have maybe kept yourself a little bit more guarded or a little bit smaller. And, you know, just a lot of it's to protect ourselves from self-criticism. This is very classic for Virgo rising. We can tend to kind of fall into the backdrop. And what I'm seeing here is that I feel like you guys with this full moon are being like, it's like a rite of passage where you are being engaged back into your wild essence. And you don't have so many qualms with how you appear or with how things come across. Like, you are just being more authentic and you are being more confident and you are owning your skills and your talents without feeling like you have to humble yourself in the process. And so it feels like a really beautiful thing. The sun is trining Chiron in your 8th house. So I feel like it's a lot of this feeling like it's okay to own your power, to own your worthiness. And that comes out as a very like natural, animalistic expression of oneself. When we feel empowered, we feel like we're not filtered. We feel like we can just be authentic. And that's really what I'm seeing as a healing of woundings or insecurities where we've tried to maybe fit ourselves into a little box. And so this feels very, very positive. This moon is also making a square to Neptune in the 7th house. So there may be ways in which you are expanding through your career, but are sometimes uncertain about the aspects of relationships, especially romantic partnerships, but it could be any kind of relationship. So ultimately I see here that this might be one of those kind of tenuous, cloudy areas of your life. And if that is the case for you, not trying to push it, not trying to force it, not trying to fully understand everything that's going on, and just allowing things to be and enjoying the present moment is really going to help with this process. You also have Venus in the 4th making a square to Neptune in the 7th. So there may also be ways in which you want to kind of nurture and do self-care and be with your family and prioritize those relationships. But then you have other relationships that are needing attention as well. So again, just kind of following your intuition about what feels right, what feels natural, and not trying to force some level of connection or understanding, and allowing things to unfold as they are is the best advice I could give. Your planetary ruler Mercury is moving into Capricorn in your 5th house. So I think many of you guys are taking your inspiration right now and creating a plan of how to bring it out into the world, of how to take action on it in a long-term way. So it's like, okay, this exciting idea, this talent of mine, how can I solidify this? How can I make this something real? And I think that's ultimately going to really help people, especially because Venus is conjunct Mercury. These planets are also squaring Jupiter in the 7th house, which is all about your impact on your relationships, on the people around you. And so there may be ways in which you are kind of learning about your new skills or your passions that will ultimately help your relationships. So the things that you're thinking about, the things that you're talking about, the things that you're learning, the things that you're planning, that's somehow going to positively help your relationships. And that might not be right away, but it's ultimately going to kind of funnel into that. Another way in which this could come about is you guys maybe meeting new friends, maybe having some kind of romantic connection pop up. That's always a possibility, especially because Mercury is your ruling planet with Venus squaring Jupiter in the 7th. So kind of a lot going on in terms of relationships at this point in time. So regardless, I feel like you guys are ultimately going to receive some kind of excitement and blessing in the area of career. I think it's going to help you move forward in a more passionate way, in a less inhibited way, in a less humble and more confident and proud way, which I think is going to be really, really good for you. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Virgo. If that resonates, please give me a like and comment down below. And if you want a reading from me, or if you want to learn astrology, definitely check me out at willowswim.com. I hope you have a good one. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Libra rising. So for you guys, this full moon in Gemini is happening in your 9th house conjunct Mars, and that means that the sun is opposite it right now in your 3rd house. So whenever the sun moves through your 3rd house, you guys generally can receive a little bit more information, communication, ideas, even human connection, travel, transportation, all those things kind of become highlighted. And this is actually really interesting because you have the reverse chart of the typical chart, which is the standard of Aries rising. So with having the sun in Sagittarius, this has a lot to do with our belief systems, but the 3rd house is where we receive more information. And it's not necessarily about what we're creating out of the information, which would be beliefs, but it's more so just ingesting more of it. So that mixed with the fact that the moon and Mars are in Gemini in the 9th house, which Gemini is a sign of that collecting of information, and the 9th house is then creating meaning around it, or a value and philosophical kind of underpinnings around it. There's this interesting mix of these two energies then. So I think that many of you guys could be going through a full circle moment in which some of the things that you've been thinking about recently are coming to a head, because that's what full moons are about. Especially through actions that you've taken. So maybe you've tried different things for the first time. Maybe you have met different people and communicated in different ways than you've done in a while. Like experimenting, dabbling, traveling, all of those things can really add to your repertoire. And this full moon in particular is, I believe, about then synthesizing this information for you and making it mean something in your life, especially because this full moon is making, especially Mars, is making a trine to Saturn in the 5th house, which has a lot to do with our ability to self-actualize in this lifetime, to create something almost like in an entrepreneurial spirit out of the things that we're learning, out of the things that we've tried, as well as out of the meaning that we've given these things. So you've kind of been on this experiential journey, and now we're coming to a head where there's a realization about what this means and how to apply it to your life in a way that will feel like it's fulfilling for you and an expression of who you are. And so this could be a time of ultimately manifestation with this Magician and 10 of Cups. I think many of you guys are starting to see how you can bring these ideas into life and into something that will be more fulfilling and aligned for you, which I think has kind of been the story of what's going on, is like, how do I live in a way that's at my utmost alignment? How do I live in a way that's utilizing all of my unique talents and skills and is the best expression of who I am, which is this longer journey of what you've been going through with Saturn in the 5th house. And so there may have been these like little detours and things that you've kind of done along the way, and now you might see it all start to kind of piece together in this broader, bigger perspective and this philosophy and meaning of life, and all kind of congeal into something that you want to take action on, that you want to express, and that can feel really exciting and really emotionally fulfilling. But at the same time, this is also making a square to Neptune in the 6th house. So while this is all happening, there is still a lot going on in terms of your current work and in terms of your current reality and current responsibilities that might leave you feeling a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit confused about how to move forward. Because, hey, there's this really amazing idea. I really see how I can act on this, but I'm already doing this current thing and I don't really know how I'm supposed to create what I want in my life while maintaining this, and like, how does it all fit together? There could be these larger questions about what your vision is like, how to follow your inspiration without getting off track, without getting kind of diluted or confused when you're balancing and juggling various priorities and things that might matter to you. And that's kind of what I see with this 8 of Swords card, which technically has a lot to do with kind of mental exhaustion and anxiety and overwhelm, where we don't necessarily know the way out. We feel like we can kind of see what's going on. We can judge that, yes, we want to move in this direction, but we don't really know how to pass through this transition flawlessly. There's still a little bit of confusion. There's still a little bit of uncertainty. How do we navigate these various needs of ours and desires of ours that may kind of compete with each other? It's like having one foot in an old life, one foot in a new life. And so that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting from this, even though, you know, it is a 9th house moon. I think it's like, how can we maintain the vision of what currently exists in our reality, and as well as the big vision of what we want out of our future and our life? How can we maintain these two worlds, which can seemingly not coexist, but also coexist at the same time? The sun is also making a trine to Chiron in the 7th house. So I think many of you guys could be having some beautiful healing coming through in your relationships. And so if you are creating something in your life or desiring to create something in your life that is dependent upon other people, I think that you are being given this new layer of healing and self-understanding in relationships that will help facilitate this new vision with that person. And this could be anything in your life. It doesn't have to be like career oriented. It could be, you know, you want to start a family with somebody, or you want to start a friendship with somebody, or you do want to co-work with somebody. Regardless, I feel like there may have been certain areas of your life where you could have held back a little bit or lacked confidence, independence, and assertiveness within the relationship that I feel like is being healed a little bit more right now. So you can kind of own your value and what you are bringing to the table as a unique individual, which I think is very important for you to fully represent what Saturn in the 5th house means for you, which is about your authentic expression, your unique gifts coming to light. And doing that within a partnership or within a group is sometimes a little bit harder to do. And I think that's what the healing process is here. You guys also have Mercury moving into your 4th house, into the sign of Capricorn. So many of you guys could be kind of focusing on communicating more about your feelings, getting more in touch with your ancestry, with your family, going home, traveling a little bit more to see family. I mean, that's kind of typical for December anyway, but especially for you guys. And Mercury is also conjunct Venus, which is in your 3rd house. So I think that you guys could be having improved communication with family members, improved relationships, and self-soothing as well. I think if you have been struggling with certain emotional things or feeling a little bit more unstable, this conjunction here is going to help you kind of smooth things over a little bit. And you might feel that even more so before the start of this moon, because this is a separating aspect, which means it already happened and is kind of moving away from each other. Mercury and Venus, however, are also making a square to Jupiter in the 6th house. So let me pull a card for this one for you guys. So Mercury making a square to Jupiter, I have this natally. And 2 of Cups, the Sun, and Strength. Okay. Yeah, this definitely feels like relationship oriented with the 2 of Cups and the Sun and Strength. Okay. This definitely gives me the vibe of I want to focus on my work, but I also want to, and my personal expression, what makes me feel like I have purpose out in the world. And I also want to, you know, work on these relationships. I also want to work on how I'm showing up to love myself and take care of myself, my relationship with myself, but as well as a partner or a close friend or even a family member. And the Strength card in between gives me this kind of slow, patient way of handling the situation. You know, we're not going to rush into either direction. We're going to take steps this way and steps that way and find this beautiful balance, which is very Libra. So you guys might be trying to figure out, how do I kind of manage myself, my mind, my emotions, my relationship with myself, as well as my productivity, as well as my desire to produce, to create, to be of service, to externalize myself. And so there can be a little bit of this back and forth of inner nurturing of relationships and your heart, as well as external nurturing of obligations. And that might feel like a little bit tenuous at this time, but ultimately I feel like you guys will really succeed. You also have Venus in the 3rd house making a square to Neptune in the 6th. So there could be a lot of ways in which you may also be kind of confused about relationships. Venus and Neptune in particular could indicate confusion around conversations, especially within the workplace. So if you are trying to achieve a common goal with somebody, I do see a lot of healing around relationships to help facilitate that, but I can also see a breakdown of understanding or communication. And so my warning to you would be to not try to like sign a bunch of contracts or figure out all the exact details around things right now, but to just kind of go with the flow, ride your intuition, ride the waves of energy, and allow the situation to unfold over time without putting huge stakes onto important joint ventures or relationships right now. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Libra. I hope that resonates, and if it does, please let me know by liking and commenting down below. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful day. If you want an astrology reading from me, definitely check me out at lilsboom.com. I also teach astrology there, and I'm also adding content to that right now, and I am super excited. So I hope to see you guys there, and have a great one. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Scorpio rising. So for you guys, this full moon in Gemini is happening in your 8th house, along with Mars there, and it's opposite the Sun in Sagittarius in your 2nd house. So it's so weird because I was pulling cards for you guys, and one of the things that was coming up was the saying, what is the cost of getting what you want? I know a lot of manifestors probably don't want to believe this or disagree with me, and that's totally fine. You can put that in the comments below if you disagree in your philosophy about life. But one of the things that I have noticed when I've watched a lot of content and talked to people who are successful in life was that there are sacrifices. And sometimes in order to get something that we want, we have to make sacrifices along the way to achieve that goal, to achieve that end. And that's really what I'm seeing here with Mars in the 8th house. I feel like there's something that you guys, well, first of all, with Sun in the 2nd house, there's something that you guys really want to attain. And this could be some kind of like financial stability. This could be some kind of resource. Like I want to buy a house. I want to get this job. I want to develop the sense of self-worth. It could be that internal, but of course, for many will be external. But with the moon and Mars in the 8th house, it's almost like it's saying that in order to attain the things that you want, you have to kind of go through this phoenix rising process where you have to maybe sacrifice or say no to some things, or even face certain fears of yours in order to attain the thing that you want, in order to attain this level of stability. And this is true because Moon Mars is also making a trine to Saturn the 4th. So there's a larger process here with Saturn the 4th where you are figuring out how to create long-term internal and external stability for oneself. And so this is this whole journey, 2 years long. We're going through all these ups and downs around this process. Maybe for some of you it's so literal, like buying a house. Maybe for others of you it's more of a figurative, emotional thing happening in your life. How do I create this sense of security for myself that I feel like I can move and travel and change relationships and still feel good and safe within me? It's gonna look different for everyone, but there's some kind of sacrifice that you need to make to get what you want. And I think for many of you, it's the sacrifice of needing to change who you currently are. And I see that because I pulled the 9 of Cups and the Hanged Man. And these are pretty cards, so I really want to show you guys. But this really gives me the energy of you can have your heart's desire, but you have to shift your perspective. So this is going to look different for many of you. So for some of you, it could look like you need to change as a person to step up, level up to have what you want. I think that's kind of the consistent message for everyone. For some of you, you may have to put in certain sacrifices. You have to make certain sacrifices to your level of comfort. So this could look like I'm going to save more money and not spend because I want to buy this house. Or I'm going to work long hours and not see my friends as much because I want to attain this career objective. So many different kinds of sacrifices, but those are kind of ways that you are temporarily limiting yourself so that long term you can create what you want. The second sacrifice that I see for people is that you may have to actually change your goal. And this doesn't mean that you won't get what you want, but it won't look the same way. So for some of you, it could look like having a house, but the house isn't exactly what you thought it would be. Or this could look like getting a job, but the job isn't exactly as much as you thought it would make. So it's making certain concessions in order to still make progress and move forward, and realize that you can have everything you want, but it might have a more delayed timeline. There might be little steps along the way that you have to kind of concede to or go through in order to actually get to that long-term goal. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. I don't know why that message in particular really came through, was be willing. Like, what are you willing to sacrifice in order to get what you want? So that could be a question that you want to take some time to journal about, because if you are not willing to budge at all, you might not even get what you want. And so I think I pulled this introspection card. I think many of you are needing to kind of go within to see where you are willingly taking, lacking something, where you are willingly letting go of something to play the long game. And I think that this is really going to emotionally fulfill you. I pulled the Ace of Cups. So this seems like some kind of new emotional opportunity for you. And I actually think that we build a lot of character and we really change who we are inside when we are willing to kind of postpone something short term for that long-term gain. It's like we develop more character as a result of this discipline, this resolve, and having our priorities really straight in our lives. This might not come super easily to you, which is why I think many of you will need to go within and really reflect and connect with your intuition about what you might be willing to let go of short term. And I say that because this moon is also making a square to Neptune in the 5th house, which has a lot to do with that kind of sacrifice of those short-term comforts and gains. This moon is also making, or the sun is also making a trine to Chiron, the 6th house. So I think it's going to help you grow in confidence and productivity when you set these priorities, when you say what you're going to sacrifice. So it's like, all right, I'm willing to give up this and this to live this kind of life long term. And there's something around that that's actually really healing for you, that is going to, I feel like, free up energy, free up internal resources, because you've already made important decisions about what those priorities are in your life. And that's going to be very important because I'm getting a very strong visual with these cards here that you guys are very busy. I pulled the Medusa, Sacred Rage, and this Octopus card. They both have these kind of like tentacles and various, she's got all her snakes, and this octopus obviously has its tentacles, and there's something here that's indicating that there are many spinning plates in your life right now. There are lots of different things that are requiring your energy, your focus, and your attention. And so it's going to be very important to create this strong list of priorities so that you know what you are putting first and putting energy towards first, because at the end of the day, energy is a finite resource each day. You also have Mercury moving into Capricorn in your third house, which could also really represent this busyness and this movement and having a lot to do, a lot to consider, a lot of conversations to have in particular, maybe a lot of people to reach out to, or homework to do, or networking to do. There's something around the lines of this where you maybe really need actually other people to make your goals come true. So I can see you guys making more relationships or finding more people right now, connecting with more people right now that will help facilitate this long-term goal. And again, this is just a lot more kind of input coming into your life, a lot more conversations, a lot more data, things that you have to work through mentally. And so this is, again, a lot of stimulation. So it's going to be very, very important, again, to have these priorities straight, because you won't have the capacity to handle all this incoming information if you don't know what exactly you're looking for, what is your first thing to put energy towards, and so on and so forth. And the reason I say relationships and people and information from people and is important right now is because Mercury is also conjunct Venus. Venus is in the second house, but still, regardless, they're conjunct. These both are squaring Jupiter in the fifth house. There are many ways in which you could get distracted socially right now, distracted by your loved ones, or by the idea of your hobbies and things like that. It might be a time in which you can have some sort of balance between the two, but with the square with Jupiter in the fifth, you may be prone to overindulgence in kind of those short-term gratification elements. And so just recognize that you need to kind of guard yourself against that so that you're aware of what is most important in your life. You also have Venus in the second squaring Neptune in the fifth. So in particular, you could spend money on those things when you really need to be saving. You could be spending your life energy on those things when you really need to be preserving that and dedicating to more survival-based things. So just kind of keep that in mind, that this could be a time in which you may dissipate energy that you really, really need. The last thing I'll say is there's kind of some message coming through around sacred rage and advocacy. Yes, Moon and Mars in the 8th house definitely has that kind of sacred rage going on. But this is more, I'm not really getting a sense of being super angry. I'm more so seeing you protecting yourself and advocating for your needs and your rights. So maybe you really wanting something. And so it's like, no, this is what I want. And this is telling other people, no, this is setting a boundary. This is setting, again, this priority of like, this is my top priority. So I'm going to protect this now. I'm going to use my sacred rage to let other people know to not infringe upon this top priority. And so you guys may have to advocate for yourself, advocate for your long-term desires and goals, and use any frustration or anger that comes up as a sign that your boundaries around these priorities are being crossed. So this seems like a really important time to set goals, to have a unique plan, to know exactly your way of taking action. And I strongly recommend reading the book Essentialism, which I feel like will really help with this whole process. If not, I'm also starting to offer like beta coaching, which means that like I'm doing it kind of for the first time using astrology, and it's at a cheaper price. So if you have specific goals you want to achieve and you want to work with me, definitely reach out on my website, willowswim.com, or you can even work with my coach, who I also love. Her name is KT, and I'll have a video with her coming up. And I also produced a video with her in the past. So if you want to check her out, you can see her work there as well. But this is a great time to get a coach, to have an accountability partner, a friend, somebody who will help you protect this very important long-term goal, because it may be in a somewhat vulnerable state if you are not feeling strong enough and systematized enough to know exactly how to protect this thing and move forward towards your goals. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Scorpio. I hope that resonates. If it does, please give me a like and comment down below. If you want an astrology reading, check me out at willsboom.com or coaching. And if you want to learn astrology from me, I also have an entire course up, which I'm adding new content to, and I'm super excited about. So I hope to see you there. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Sagittarius rising. For you guys, this full moon in Gemini is happening in your 7th house, conjunct Mars, and the sun is currently moving through your 1st house. So, very exciting time. When the sun moves through our 1st house, we are usually given the opportunity to shine brighter in our life, to think more about what we want, where we're going, to focus a lot also on our physical world, especially this full moon with Mars. How are we taking care of our body? How are we nourishing ourselves and our spirit? Where are we going? Those are all going to be important questions for you guys at this time. And with the moon and Mars in particular in the 7th house, these questions are going to have a lot to do with somebody else in your life. These are not things that, they are things that make a huge difference to you and your life path and your personality, but they are also really affecting somebody else, or somebody else is in on these decisions with you. And with Mars here, they can be a strong motivator and strong influence. But ultimately, I do kind of feel like you guys really need to still be able to collect this information, collect their, passions and their desires, and tune into yourself to decide what it is that you really need at this point in time. Because I pulled the 10 of Swords, which has a lot to do with endings. But for some reason, I really felt like it was deciding something. But then what's interesting after this is I have the 2 of Pentacles and the Page of Swords, which has a lot to do with balancing things out. But really the vibe I got from it was like 10 of Swords, Page of Swords, 2 of Pentacles, was that you are having a lot going on in your mind, because there may be 2 distinct paths that you can take with this 2 of Pentacles. I can go down this path and work on this thing, or I can go down this path and work on this thing, or I can focus my energy here or there. And it may feel like with the 10 of Swords, there has to be some kind of definitive ending to one way of being, or to one way of thinking, or to one path. With the Page of Swords, I will say that whatever path you are going down feels like something brand new. Also because I pulled the Cobra. So these are a lot about learning or being at the start of a journey. And so for many of you guys, I feel like the decision that you act on is going to be something that is new for you or that you haven't done before. And I think it's going to feel like really intimidating and exciting and sparking a lot of curiosity. And I think you guys are going to want to start learning a lot about what this new thing is in your life. And again, if you have a partner, or if you're pairing up with someone, or if this is affecting someone really important in your life, getting them on board in this learning process, talking to them about it, having really important conversations about what you're going to plan and do for your long term. And that's especially true important because Moon and Mars in the 7th is making a trine to Saturn in the 3rd. So your decisions, your communication, your planning, your prioritization should all be kind of really practical, grounded in reality, safe, long-term thinking, and having just very solid action-oriented steps about how to move forward. So yes, lots of learning, I think, for you guys with Saturn in the 3rd as well. It's like, who knows more than me? Can I look online? Can I watch YouTube videos? Can I sign up for this thing under a teacher? There's something about this that you haven't fully explored yet, that you're just starting out, that you need to quench that appetite for learning, which you have as a Sagittarius very naturally. I also wanted to say that whatever this path is as well, might not necessarily be something that everybody agrees with. And that could be where this impact is coming from. Like maybe you're doing it with somebody, or maybe this is actually something that is just people have opinions on, and it's not like impacting them in a direct way, but because they love you, it impacts them. The reason I say that is because I pulled this Magic card, which does kind of have a lot to do with you recognizing your own authenticity, your own inner magic and not letting the judgment of others sway that. And I think this could especially come from family or from someone within your home environment, or maybe it could come from internal uncertainty around your sense of home insecurity. Like, I don't know if I feel safe enough here in this place to move forward on this path. Or it could literally come from a family member or somebody who lives with you at home, because this moon is also squaring Neptune in the 4th. So there's something around like your home, your sense of security, or even your past that is bringing up a lot more confusion, like a lot more self-doubt around this decision, or maybe just shaking up your discernment in some way. So just know that whatever feels like it is the most authentic thing at this time, regardless of what other people think around you, is the way forward. You also have Sun trining Chiron on the 5th, so this could be a very healing time, especially related to topics around children or around businesses or anything that feels like it's an extension of you, a personal expression of you. This is a time in which you are having healing in this area of your life, and that means you might find more purpose, more validation to move forward in some project related to those topics. You also just had Mercury move into Capricorn in your 2nd house of finances. This is also conjunct Venus. So many of you may start to come up with new ideas around how to make money or how to create more kind of financial, resourceful security in your own life. And so that could include other people, because Venus is conjunct Mercury here. That could include, working with someone in particular, or maybe getting money from someone in particular. Or it could be you just realizing how you want to start managing your money long term in order to achieve whatever this direction it is that you're headed down. This is also squaring Jupiter in the 4th, so there may be ways in which you still want to prioritize having a home, a nice home, or prioritize going home to see your family, something that around like your roots, your home, your family, that could also try to take some of that money away or try to take some of that focus away, which is fine. But it's like, how can I create that balance? How can I create my top priorities and have a little bit of a mixture of both without maybe spending too much money on my home or going to see family this year for Christmas, for example. You also have Venus in the 1st house making a square to Neptune in the 4th. So there may be ways, again, in which your priorities and values at this time, the things that you want to create in your life, do not necessarily align with your family's perspective or with what you're trying to create within your home, or even within what you've done in the past. There can be conflicting emotions of like, but I'm this kind of person, or am I suddenly going to be this kind of person? And so you might feel a little bit more torn here as a result of that. So it's going to be important to realize that whatever you want to do, you may have to say no to something, which is hard because I don't really like to say no. I'm like, I feel like there is the 10 of Swords and the 2 of Pentacles are like, I want to juggle things. And the 10 of Swords to me is really saying, you need to stop trying to juggle things. You need to choose one thing. And it's so weird because I feel like every time I have a sign back to back, they relate to each other. Like you and Scorpio kind of have similar messages. You need to make a choice. And that was really the message I heard in my head. Let me pull a card on like how to make that okay. 8 of Pentacles, 6 of Wands, and Ace of Wands. Wait, 6 of Swords, Ace of Wands. Okay, so 8 of Pentacles is about mastery of a craft. 6 of Swords is about adventure and transition and change, moving into a brand new territory that we've never done before. And then Ace of Fire also has that similar quality of Page of Air, where we are having something new and exciting come into our life that we're passionate about, that we want to take action on. So I'm not going to interpret that for you. I'm just going to say what those cards are, because this is going to be your personal interpretation, your intuition that is ultimately going to lead you down the path of what to do in your life. And if this is a big decision, I feel like some of you guys will be disappointed with that. Let me pull one more card. around how to make this decision. And I got the dragonfly. Let's see what the dragonfly says. I feel like the dragonfly is a lot about like mental clarity. Let's see. Master of light, illusion, and the mind. The dragonfly is an ancient and ethereal creature that awakens a sense of wonder within awe. The dragonfly is a symbol of the mind, as it is always moving, shifting, shimmering, and changing. When the dragonfly card appears, it's worth considering the quality of your mind and perception. Are they restless or still? Dreamlike or crystal clear? The situation at hand may be different than it appears at first glance. The dragonfly reminds us to calm the mind so the light of wisdom can shine through. That's really what I'm getting here. It's like there's a strong need for you to not analyze the situation, but to intuitively feel through the situation. One of my things that I like to do the most is actually yoga nidra. If you guys have ever tried that before, it takes you through all the phases of basically deep sleep. And so it can help you access these parts of your subconscious mind and your intuition that are not readily online and available for you when you are experiencing higher levels of mental processing and anxiety to some degree. So I would highly recommend type in Yoga Nidra on YouTube, go in with your intention of discovering what your true north is, sit down for a 20, 30, 40-minute session, which is super relaxing. I promise you, it doesn't take effort. And then I think that you will awake, and if you journal about it, you will discover the right path forward. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Sagittarius. If that resonates, let me know by liking, commenting down below. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. If you want to learn astrology from me, I'm adding new content to my course, Astrology 101, so check that out in the description box down below. And of course, I am also offering readings if you guys want one of those. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Capricorn. For you guys, this full moon in Gemini is happening in your 6th house conjunct Mars. And the sun is opposite it in the 12th house, which makes a lot of sense for the cards that I was pulling. So first of all, the sun being in the 12th house is usually a very internal time and process where we are often shedding old layers of our life before it reemerges in our 1st house, coming in the later days of December, where you will start to feel like you are emerging for the first time in a new way. I definitely see that for you guys. I got the 8 of Cups, which is all about leaving behind a certain path, a certain way of doing things, a certain way of thinking about things. And then as a result of that, you guys are going to start moving a lot faster through things. And I got the 8 of Fire, 8 of Wands, which has a lot to do with directing our willpower and deciding exactly what we want to go after. And as a result of leaving something in the past and kind of focusing on our energy and exactly where we want to go, things speed up a lot quicker. However, after that, I'm really seeing that there is still a lot of processing that you're having to do. And I definitely feel like a full moon conjunct Mars in Gemini, on top of that being the 6th house, produces a lot of anxiety. It's not going to be that case for everyone, but for you in particular, I see that being the case because the 6th house has a lot to do with our mental fragility and how well we're doing. And Mars is all about stimulation. So is Gemini. And so it's almost like your mind just kicks into overdrive. And so for many of you guys with the 9 of Swords, I think that you guys could be kind of worrying a lot about what it means to leave this thing in the past. Kind of if you made the right decision, or you know, even deciding like, should I stay or should I go? If you haven't made that decision, there's something around this that's not leaving you feeling settled. And then with the 3 of Swords as well, I almost feel like it's breaking your heart or making you very sad, making you very upset, or feeling like there's a loss happening here. And that could be a loss of a job or some kind of responsibility that you have been putting a lot of effort into, because Moon, Mars, 6th house could be just like a current thing that you've invested time and responsibility into and are reliable for. That's not going to be the case for everybody, but that's just one of the things that's very clear. It's like, okay, there's some kind of severance here where that in particular could be you walking away from a current position, or you walking away from a current responsibility. This is also making a trine to Saturn in the 2nd house. So this might feel like it's a financial hit as well, if that is the case, or it could even create more inner stability as a result of these changes, or both. So there may be ways in which your finances actually can stabilize by saying no to a certain responsibility and walking away from it. There are ways in which you could become more confident or more at home in your own skin as a result of paring things down and walking away from something. But regardless, I feel like there is quite a bit of healing around this because I pulled the Temperance card. This card to me is suggesting that there is like a peach here and somebody ate a heart into the peach and there's like gold. Yeah, that is kind of the vibe I'm getting. I don't really see you guys, maybe some of you, like, on the short term are experiencing some kind of loss of finances as a result of this, but I'm really getting the perspective that you're gaining more finances long term. Maybe some of you even in the short term. I'm really getting the sense that you're like making long-term decisions based off of this, because with this pot of gold and this trine with Saturn II, it feels like it's stabilizing your financial prosperity, stabilizing your level of confidence and value, which is what helps you gain that confidence. Which helps you gain the money, is what I meant to say. And then this person is like eating this peach. So there are many ways in which I feel like you guys are needing to maybe be a little bit more sweet and gentle to yourself throughout this process. And that will probably soothe your anxiety a little bit and heal you a little bit more, because I think that some of the pain and anxiety is really being magnified by the way that you might be talking to yourself and treating yourself, especially because this moon is making a square to Neptune in the third. I think that this is more of a rumination, running in circles, feeling confused, not communicating clearly, not knowing really what you want or what you want to do long term. And it's like you're really getting in your own head. And so I feel like that is the thing that needs a lot of softness, a lot of gentleness. Neptune does well with compassion and empathy. So if you can give that to yourself, this will make this process a lot easier for you guys. You also have the sun making a trine to Chiron the 4th. So something is very healing coming out of this process in regards to your home or your family. If there is something that you're walking away from, maybe it will be helping you on the path towards healing in that regard, as well as your kind of emotional sense of self and your emotional security. You guys also have Mercury that just moved into your first house in the sign of Capricorn. So this is definitely a time to be focusing on what you want, what your long-term goals and plans are, important conversations you need to have in order to make that happen, especially with other people, because Venus is also conjunct Mercury here in the sign of Sagittarius. And so there are ways in which you might need to communicate to other people about these plans to help get them on board. This is making a square to Jupiter in the 3rd, so it's going to be important for you to be direct and I feel like not be so like giving, because sometimes with Jupiter in the 3rd, it's like, well, we want to be very generous. We want to be, if someone pushes back, we want to like give them what they want in some respects. We don't want to come across as harsh or matter of fact. And I think that will do you a disservice at this time, that you don't want to come across harsh, sure. And you don't want to also make unrealistic plans with somebody though. It's like, oh, but I really want you to do this. And you're like, okay, sure. And it's like in your head, you kind of know that you don't have the capacity to take that on. And this is like false promises, not being super honest with yourself or others, not communicating clearly. So just be really careful about that, because you have very important plans that you need to make. And you need to also show people how important they are by communicating exactly what your boundaries are around this, or exactly what you need the other person to do in order for you to achieve this. And just like being very clear and not like optimistic in an unrealistic way. You also have Venus in the 12th squaring Neptune in the 3rd. So again, there could be a desire to kind of please people and not really want to be straight with them, not really want to be matter of fact with them, because there could be fear around losing them, losing connection, losing face. And so there's this delicate balance where you need to honor yourself and your needs while also honoring this other person, or whatever relationships this is impacting. So it's both. It's not one, it's not the other. There's no harshness here. It's not desiring for harshness, but it's desiring for cooperation, which is what I saw when I pulled this card. So many of you guys are being asked to find this beautiful, happy medium between these two elements of yourself where, yes, these are my long-term goals and plans. I want them more than anything, but I'm also going to work together with people, communicate very clearly, make sure I have time for everything so that no one kind of gets left in the dust. So that's ultimately what I'm seeing. You guys are transitioning out of something. I don't know what that is exactly, but do it with confidence, because with the Eight of Wands, it's going to make you move a lot quicker and a lot stronger through life. So this transition process is very beneficial for you, even though it could be a little bit more uncomfortable during the process. So that's all I'm seeing for you guys. I hope that you enjoy this one. I hope that it's not uncomfortable for you like I am saying. And if you guys want to book an astrology reading with me, definitely check me out at willowsmoon.com. I also offer my astrology course, which I'm adding new content to and I'm very excited about. So check that out down below, and I hope you have a great one. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Aquarius risings. This full moon in Gemini conjunct Mars is in your 5th house, and the sun is opposite it in your 11th house. So, what's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? This Moon Mars is also making a trine to Saturn the 1st. So there is something here that is maybe feeling like you are on your own. And that's generally what Saturn the 1st house does create for you, is a heavier focus on personal development, self-development. And sometimes being alone is the way to do this. That's not always the case. If we've been very alone in our life, then sometimes the opposite is meant to happen, and we're supposed to develop ourselves among peers, among friends. Regardless, there's something here around your community that is changing, that is a focus for you, friendships, belonging, that is maybe highlighting a feeling of aloneness at this full moon. And that's because the sun in the 11th house is a focus on friends. And then Saturn, this moon making a trine to Saturn the 1st, is a focus on the self and autonomy of the self as well, self-reliance. And I did pull this aloneness card, which came after the death and destruction card. So there is something around your sense of belonging, your community, your friendships, or maybe even your dating life or something with your children. There's something about your current way of feeling connected that has been broken or severed and is making you go more within. But ultimately, what you're getting out of this with this magic card is what makes you most authentic. It's about finding what it is that's special about you that you haven't yet explored, or that you haven't yet shared out with the world to the same degree as you feel like you should. And that's why this full moon is happening in your 5th house of personal expression. And so there's something here for you guys that you're meant to go after, that you're meant to kind of shine your light on, that you're meant to pursue, that feels like an authentic expression of who you are. This could be a business. This could be having children. This could be a hobby. It could be a new dating life, new friends, whatever, it doesn't matter. What it is though, is it's helping you kind of hone and develop your identity, who you are, the impact that you're meant to have. Even sometimes your physical health, your sexuality, all those things can undergo transformation, because this is not only a full moon in the 5th, but it's also trining Saturn the 1st, which can really, this process is solidifying who you are meant to be. So whatever this loss is can feel a little bit scary, but there's so much of a gift that you're getting out of it. So don't be concerned in terms of your long-term benefit. You guys are in the right place. These are the right things that should be happening, because it's honing your ability to tap into these gifts that you maybe otherwise would not have had the capacity, the time, the energy to think about, and now you do. This moon is also making a square to Neptune in the 2nd house. So many of you guys are definitely maybe are, I think, wavering in confidence or wavering in terms of a sense of security around finances. There may be some areas of your life where you just feel like, oh geez, I don't feel like I have the right resources for this, or, I don't know if I have what it takes. So if that's the case, this is part of the journey of what you're meant to overcome. And with the sun making a trine to Chiron in the third house, this is all about bolstering your self-confidence and your self-talk here to make progress where you are healing your mindset so that you can go out and create that sense of security, whether that's making more money, being more confident, adding value to the world and value to yourself. But it starts in the mind. I think Sun trine Chiron is going to help you with that. So that feeling of not having stability can come with time. Mercury just moved into Capricorn in your 12th house. So this is bringing up a lot of maybe memories from the past with the Six of Cups. This is not just an isolated incident, right? Difficult times trigger past difficult times, trigger past memories of when we also felt insecure or when something wasn't working well for us. So this is a time when you are meant to be going through some type of internal strengthening with the Strength card, self-compassion, self-understanding, acceptance, love, so that you can move through the current circumstances without getting stuck in thought and past thought loops, past storylines. You are meant to utilize this time to see if there are repeating patterns and things that you can change and move forward with love, compassion, and patience for oneself without trying to rush the process. This is especially true because Venus is also conjunct this Mercury. So it's a lot about developing your relationship with yourself, your mindset, and your self-talk. This is also making a square to Jupiter in the second house. So there may be ways in which you are feeling really optimistic about kind of where you want to go next, or you may be feeling optimistic about where you can make money or how you can become really solid in your sense of self and security. That area that is a little bit lacking, you might feel hopeful and faithful, and you might even be desiring to you might be a little bit ungrounded in this area. So it's important to not overspend as a coping mechanism, to feel like everything is just going to be fine, everything's just going to work out. It's important to have certain boundaries with yourself and, again, really get clear on your self-communication. So being very honest with oneself, but also compassionate and having these firm boundaries without being mean, but being clear. And so there are ways in which Jupiter in the second can lead to overindulgence, and with Neptune in the second, some escapism as well. So just make sure that if you're not fully having confidence, if you're not fully having a bunch of money, and you need those things, that you don't further kind of dig yourself into a hole by avoiding it. You have the potential to do that here by overindulging and making the situation worse. Or you can set firm boundaries with yourself and establish that I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to save my money. I'm going to talk to myself this way. I'm going to do the habits that make me feel confident. And that one of the major things with this is following through on your word. The confidence that we build internally is saying I'm going to do something and then doing it, because you are building trust within oneself, and trust is confidence in oneself. And Venus in the 11th house squaring Neptune in the second is saying that you need to prioritize those long-term goals and not allow the things that are kind of calling your attention right now to distract yourself with, in terms of spending money, overindulging in food, finding out ways to just kind of disperse your resources. It's saying let's get clear about what we really value and visualize and put our inspiration and energy into those long-term goals, instead of kind of frittering them away on short-term gratification that will actually force us to spend what we have when we need to save that, secure that for this long-term goal. The last thing I'll say is I pulled the Three of Cups. I think many of you guys ultimately will be creating a new community as a result of this full moon. So new friendships are coming in, new connections that are going to uplift you in your life. And this might take some time, and that's okay. So if you are feeling like you are alone in some ways, this aloneness is actually what's bringing you into the new, bringing you into this new support system, whether it's family, friends, kids, whoever, a new partner, whatever it is, it's ultimately going to benefit you, because you're going to start aligning with people that really uplift you, that really feel like they're soul family, and that will also help you attain these important gifts that you are trying to bring out into the world. They're going to help facilitate that personal expression. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Aquarius. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. If you want a reading, definitely check me out at willowsboom.com. I offer tons of different readings on there, from business readings to life purpose, relationships, and all of the above. And if you are interested in learning astrology, I'm adding new content to my course, Astrology 101, and I highly recommend checking that out as well. So I hope to see you guys there. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Pisces. So for you guys, this full moon in Gemini is happening in your 4th house conjunct Mars, which means that the sun is opposite it in your 10th house of career. So many of you guys have been focusing a lot on your place in the world, the way that you make money, and how you're going to be a badass bitch in your career. This full moon in your 4th house, though, is going to indicate some kind of transformation around your home sector, some kind of possible ending, especially because it is making a trine to Saturn in the 12th, which I've been kind of talking about what Saturn moving through a house for each sign is associated with. And for you, Saturn moving through the 12th is all about testing your faith and your ability to know what is right for you, what isn't right for you, when to have control over a situation and when to surrender, when to trust the process of the universe, and also when to emote or open up and not self-isolate versus when to trust that it's time to be alone. So there's a whole kind of long journey that you guys have been going through with Saturn moving through your 12th for a while now. And so this Moon-Mars conjunction in the 4th house trining this Saturn is, to me, indicating that there is maybe some more kind of internal processing that you're meant to do. There might be something that has ended in your life or that is changing. And I feel like you are at a crossroads. I feel like there's 2 distinct messages. One is on a more kind of practical, earthly realm, and then the other is a more internal process that's going on. And that makes a lot of sense because Sun in the 10th house is all about our external reality, and Moon in the 4th house is all about our internal reality. So this dichotomy is already going on, and so that's what I'm seeing in the cards as well. So first of all, I'm just not sure which one I want to do first. Okay, so I feel like something is ending or changing, and this is ultimately putting you in a little bit of a limbo state. And that's because this moon is also making a square to Neptune the 1st. So it's like, who am I? What am I doing here? That's kind of these larger questions with Neptune the 1st is asking you. So whenever it's stimulated, especially by square opposition during a newer full moon, we're really having those existential questions come back up in some form or another, in some area of our life or another. And so many of you guys, especially in regards to the kind of security that you want to create for yourself, the kind of life that you want to create, the emotional responses that you want to have, the family that you want to have, the home that you want to live in, those are all these existential questions that you could ask yourself at this time, and gain more clarity around what it is that you actually want. And in many ways, I feel like there is something that is intuitively coming in for you, that you feel something shifting, and it feels like you're very passionate and excited about something. I pulled the 9 of Wands, which usually has to do with like really having to push and persevere and being exhausted and like going through lots of trials and tribulations. But when it came out, my first thought was like, there's so much passion here. And so this mixed with the High Priestess, which came out together, to me really feels like there's something igniting within you that you are really stoked about, that you really are looking forward to. But I feel like because it's the High Priestess and the Unknown card, this crossroads, Hecate, there's still a lot in this passion and this excitement that you kind of have no idea how it's going to unfold. It's like, yes, I really am excited about this thing. I feel it bubbling within me. I'm stoked to learn about it. I'm stoked to pursue it. But what actually is it? What actually is this meant to be? What is my next step? There's a lot of this like, who am I going to become if I do this? Do I want to make this transition? Just a lot of questions, which are going to be different for everyone. I'm just offering a few examples. You can plug in your own that fits your life. So there's something I feel like really exciting, but also at the same time, unknown. And so that can feel like it triggers some of that trine with Saturn, where it's like, how much do I control? How much do I let go? How much do I go within? How How much is isolation and not relying enough on people? It's like all those kind of questions can come up right now. And so I think that you guys are going on this internal emotional journey in regards to what you really want in your external reality, because the sun in the 10th is all about pursuing that. And there's all this backdrop and storyline happening in your internal world in regards to this. And you guys also have the sun trining Chiron in the second house. So a lot of this is helping you heal your worthiness wound. If you have been charging less, if you have been feeling like you can't have the financial security that you want, or you can't buy this certain house, or you're not good enough at a certain skill, this is coming in here to make some massive healing progress in that area of your life. And that is what is helping you have even more fuel and fire for this excitement about what it is that you want to do, even if it's not clear. And so I feel like, that's like kind of giving you more energy reserves, because you no longer are wasting energy on self-doubt. You guys also have Mercury moving into Capricorn and your 11th house. This is conjunct Venus as well. And Venus is in the 10th house still. And this is squaring Jupiter in the first. So I kind of feel like there is something that is transforming about your work and about your skill set that you are needing to bring other people on board with. Mercury moving into your 11th house is collecting the people in your life that can help facilitate what you want. This could be learning from somebody. This could be having somebody support you financially. This could be making certain connections that will ultimately lead to you networking your talents and moving into a certain field. There is a support system and a neural network here that I'm seeing happen with this cooperation card and Mercury being in your 11th house. So this active community is going to be very important to move you forward on your growth and towards your goal. And with this transformation in the 8 of Pentacles, again, there's like a big change in how you approach your work, or something that you're doing for work, like you're developing a different skill. And maybe it's through these friendships and these connections that you're able to then develop that skill, right? You're able to then have that opportunity come to you to learn more about yourself, to do this thing. Because this is ultimately making a square to Jupiter in the first, which is like, how do I need to change and develop and master myself and my talents and my skills and my knowledge and to then offer it to the world, to then make these changes out in the world. And your community is what is going to bring that in. However, these are also in a square, which means that you might have difficulty in understanding how much time do I go out in the world versus how much time do I dedicate to this growth, this personal exploration. These can also be at odds. So not only is the community giving you this opportunity, this knowledge, this step forward, but it's also kind of taking away from it, because it's like, give me more attention, like it's like your friend giving you a work opportunity, and then you're really busy with learning this new thing for work and you're excited about it, but then your friend still wants to hang out. So it's like we have competing priorities here. So how do you manage these two elements of your life? How do you manage your career and your personal growth and your community and all these things at once? You also have Venus in the 10th squaring Neptune in the first. So again, I feel like there's something that you're excited about in your career, but you're also kind of confused about the process and about where it's going or how to get where you want to be. And so what I'm saying with everyone with this is really just trust your intuition. Don't force things. Flow with it, and embrace any kind of liminal space, because having Neptune move through your first house is just a blessing around surrendering, especially with Saturn in the 12th. It's all about those larger ideas and questions around how much effort versus how much flow, how much trust versus how much control. And that's really what this larger journey is about. And I think just kind of allowing it to unfold while also following the excitement is the right answer for you guys. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Pisces. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, give me a thumbs up and comment down below if it resonated with you. If you want an astrology reading, definitely check me out at willowsboom.com. I also offer a course, Astrology 101, which I'm just adding new content to right now and I'm super excited about. So definitely check that out down below. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.